Question 4. Are the bowls part of the tribulation? Remember, we have trumpets, we have seals, trumpets, and bowls. Are they part of the tribulation? The Great Tribulation seems to start at the 6th seal. Remember, there is a tribulation and a Great Tribulation. The tribulation in general is 7 years, and it's divided in half, 3.5 years and 3.5 years. The first 3.5 years are called the tribulation, and then it escalates. It escalates harder than a Harlem Shake video. It goes to, that was a stupid thing to say. Sorry, internet. All right. And then everyone dances with the Harlem Shake. All right. Got the tribulation, and then it escalates. The second half of the tribulation, the last 3.5 years, is called the Great Tribulation. Whenever you see great in the book of Revelation, it's really applying to that, like the great day of his wrath is what the 6th seal says. The great day of his wrath has come. It's pretty well, highly regarded that is the moment of the middle of the tribulation, when the Great Tribulation happens. And definitely a feature of the Great Tribulation are all 7 bowls. So large amounts of judgment being poured out. I'm going to be talking about those bowls next week. I can't wait for it. All right. The trumpets and bowls appear to come after the 6th seal. Okay, so that's question 4. Question 5, who or what is Babylon the prostitute, and what or who do they represent? Well, we're told a little bit of that. Number 1, they represent a city, a great city. And we're told all about that city, and there's a lot of weeping over the city. It's a merchant city. It's also described as a city on 7 hills. 7 hills, and there's large cities. If you Google city of 7 hills, there are a lot will come up. But the most known one in the ancient world would be what? City of the 7 hills? Rome. In fact, when we're talking about ancient cities, what's the number 1 city you would think of? Rome or Jerusalem. So it could be Jerusalem, but it doesn't quite fit. That causes a lot of problems if that would be Jerusalem. I don't quite see how that would work out. All right. So it's a city, but it's also the base of Satan's false church. Women, this is also why I believe the woman in Revelations 12 is the church, because I believe it's just another part of Satan's copycat. That woman in Revelation 12, the woman, God usually represents a woman as his church, as a group of his people, as a woman. So wouldn't Satan do the same? Wouldn't it work that way? So not only is it a city, but it is a religious institution, right? It's going to be a one world religious institution. It's going to be a pulling together of all the religions together, and anyone that's not worshiping in that religion is going to be persecuted and destroyed for not being a part of that. In fact, there's a place where it says that the prophet is going to put up an image of the Antichrist, and people are going to worship that Antichrist. All right? This is part of Satan's church. And so when we read in who Mystery Babylon is, it is a city, and it is also his false church. All right? So there we go on that. I mean, there's a lot we could talk about that. If you have further questions, we could talk. Revelations 3:15. What does it mean to be hot, cold, or lukewarm? The church of Laodicea, it says that you are neither hot or cold, so I will spew you out of my mouth. You are lukewarm, and I will spew you out of my mouth. So what does it mean to be hot or cold or lukewarm? Let me try to explain this. I'll explain it in one word: usable. Usable. Hot water, cold water is more usable. Hot water cleans things better. Cold water has purposes too. But get this. Hot and cold water forms bacteria slower than lukewarm water. You want an infestation of bacteria, you go with lukewarm water. Lukewarm water is not very usable. And what if you drank water that was infested with bacteria? What would your body do to it? You would vomit it out. Would you spew it out of your mouth? That's what the word spew means there. It doesn't mean I'm going to do a spit take. I'm going to spit it out. No. It's like, oh, this tastes terrible. No. It means that the body is rejecting it. There are Christians that aren't usable. They claim to be Christians and they claim Jesus, but they aren't usable. They aren't hot. They aren't cold. They're usable. So guess what? The body rejects them. So as Christians, we need to be usable. There's also stuff we could talk about priority. Laodicea, when we look at Laodicea, the actual city, they had an aqueduct that ran like 5 miles from a hot spring. So when it came out of that hot spring, it was piping hot. But it had to wait so long to get there that by the time it got there, it was tepid. So we could talk about priority. Priority. If Jesus Christ is not a priority of your life, you're not very usable. You would be lukewarm. All right, question 7. This is the last one I have, so y'all get ready back there if you've got more. Who are the 2 witnesses, and what is their significance? All right, they're found in Revelations 11, I believe. Anyone can correct me if I'm wrong. I think they're found in Revelations 11. And this is a crazy story right here. There are 2 witnesses that just appear, and they are seen by the entire world, and they start doing demonstrations of God. Of God, not the Antichrist, not the false prophet, but of God. They're given power. They'll prophesy 1,260 days. About how long is that? 3.5 years. 3.5 years. And they're clothed in sackcloth. I believe this is a literal thing. But guess what? They are killed. They're killed, and the whole world sees it. In fact, the whole world rejoices over it. It even says in the book of Revelation that they start giving each other presents. They're like, yay, the 2 witnesses are dead. Here's an iPad. It's nothing against iPads. All right. But then the 2 witnesses are resurrected, and the whole world sees that too. And they're taken up to heaven. So what's the purpose of that? No, first of all, who are the 2 witnesses? Don't know for sure. Don't know for sure. I'm pretty sure it's not me. Pretty sure. No one laughed at that. I thought that was funny. All right. 2 witnesses. I kind of lean towards Enoch and Elijah because they never died. That's kind of cool. Enoch never died, and Elijah, they were both taken up. Could be Elijah and Enoch. I'm kind of rooting for Team E there. But some people think it's Elijah and Moses. They appear at the Mount Transfiguration. Elijah represents the law of God. And Moses represents the law of God. Elijah represents his prophets. So maybe that's it. For certain, I don't know. So there's that. Why? I'll tell you why. Grace. Grace is unmerited favor, and grace is time. Never forget that grace is time. Every moment you have to turn around towards Jesus Christ, that is grace. You didn't deserve that time. The moment we sinned in the garden, grace started. He could have destroyed us right there, but he's given us time and space. And here is this period of 3.5 years that God is gracefully sending 2 powerful witnesses. It is impossible to see these witnesses and think that Jesus is a fraud and not real. But people are going to see that, and they're going to reject him. They're going to reject this, okay? But I believe it's all done out of grace. I hope those answered those questions pretty good, at least fairly. Don't hate me if I was lame on any of them. All right, and do we have any other questions? All right. Got one, it looks like. 8, is there any relevance to taking everything as practical and not symbolic in Revelation? Is there any relevance to taking everything as practical and not symbolic in Revelation? I would have trouble taking things as practical in Revelation. There are always things we can take practical in the Word of God. I mean, there are things, there's principles that we can learn. There's principles that we can learn. But according to John, this is what will happen, he says. He doesn't say that this is a good idea for you or this is something that you can apply to your life. This is a warning. In fact, we haven't read this yet, but in like the last chapter it says, in the first chapter it says, blessed is anyone who reads it, hears it, takes it to heart. The last chapter says this, cursed is anyone who adds to it or takes away from it. In other words, he's saying, take it in its entirety. Believe it word for word. Don't say, oh, that's too hard, I don't want to believe that. Believe the whole thing. So in that way, I believe it's completely, there's obviously symbols. I'm sorry I'm so slow talking. There's symbols, but I believe a lot of this is literal. I believe I believe we will be shocked at how literal the book of Revelation is. There literally will be an Antichrist. I believe the beast is symbolic, but that Antichrist, I believe he's literal. I believe that false prophet, that's literal. The woman, that's symbolic, but what she's symbolic of, that's literal. There is going to be a false church. There's literally going to be Jesus showing up. I really want you to know that. I believe that with all my heart. Literally, Jesus, faithful and true, showing up. So I believe that it's totally literal. All right, are there any more questions?
Thank you for joining us. For more information about redemption, look us up online at redemption-church.com and be sure to connect with us on Facebook and Twitter.